Ben Askren, the man who was once a sports star and had a brutal rise and fall. He had to fight tooth and nail. And he seems to have won the most important skirmish, the battle for his life. After a long wait and speculation, as well as half-truths, we finally got to see Ben after he received a double lung transplant. In fact, if I showed you his picture without identifying him, you likely wouldn't recognize him. We'll discuss what happened to him, likely outcomes, and the reasons behind it. Wrestlers need to be careful with a bacteria called Staphylococcus. What happened to Ben wasn't just one problem. It was a disastrous combination of events that destroyed his lungs. It all started with a severe pneumonia, not just a normal cough, but an infection so strong that it inflamed his lungs to the maximum. This meant that his tiny air sacs, which are vital for breathing, filled up with fluid. Bara developed pneumonia, which complicated his situation. It remains unclear if the pneumonia was initially viral or bacterial. But what came next was a blow worse than Masvidal's knee strike. Staphylococcus, especially Staphylococcus aureus, is a bacteria that many people have on their skin or in their nose without knowing it. Under normal conditions, if it enters through a small wound, the immune system detects it and eliminates it without further consequences. But when the bacteria enters forcefully through a deep wound or surgery, or if the immune system is weakened, extreme weight loss, steroid misuse, or pre-existing conditions can lead to issues. The bug enters tissues, releases toxins, destroys cells, causes inflammation, and forms pus-filled abscesses. If it's not controlled, it can enter the bloodstream and travel to vital organs like the lungs, heart, or bones. And if that happens, the body can go into sepsis, a massive inflammatory response that causes the body to collapse and can kill you. While usually harmless, out-of-control Staphylococcus can be lethal. So, what happened to Ben? Well, with his lungs already damaged, he also developed a terrible Staphylococcus infection, which, at least so far, the doctors believe he had, but it was hidden. And when his lungs were weakened by pneumonia, it attacked and damaged his lung tissue, causing pulmonary fibrosis. To put it simply, it's like taking a dish sponge, soaking it in cement, and leaving it out in the sun to dry. It'll be hard, inelastic, and totally messed up. Pretty much how Ben's lungs were. Without treatment, his lungs would have completely collapsed, leading to his death. The lack of oxygen and the excess of carbon dioxide would have caused the failure of other vital organs, like the kidneys or the liver. His brain would have suffered a stroke, and the Staphylococcus infection would have spread throughout his body, causing uncontrollable sepsis, leading, in my opinion, to a painful, horrible, and honestly unfair death. The machines, the doctors, and above all, the transplant from the donor, whose identity is still not publicly known, were literally his last chance. Reviewing social media and some websites, particularly social media. Some people were wondering, for example, if the staph infection might have been caused by training in an environment where the bacteria was present or with someone who had it. The truth is, it's possible right where you are, watching me now, and even here as I narrate this video. Could we have the bacteria, or at least be surrounded by it? This is because it's very common, and although there's a possibility that I got it while training, it can't be confirmed. However, this treacherous bacteria that many of us carry on our skin without knowing it finds its paradise in contact sports gyms. I didn't expect that. Why? Because it loves heat, humidity, and constant physical contact. Sweaty mats, uncovered wounds, shared gloves, it loves all of that. It feeds on sweat, spreads easily from skin to skin, and hides on any surface that isn't properly disinfected. In jiu-jitsu, wrestling, or mixed martial arts where friction, scratches, and burns are common, the risk of infection is much higher. Even under normal conditions, your body should be able to eliminate it without issues. When athletes are doing other things that are tough on the body and pushing themselves to the limit, that's when things get much worse. Hygiene is crucial in our world, which is why it's important that the slob on the team gets cleaned up, not just because he smells bad, but because he has a concentration of bacteria that would make a microbiologist tremble. I bet a lot of people think that because he was a former ONE champion and a former UFC fighter, they let him in one way and out the other, with his new lungs, but no. The situation was critical. His insurance declined to pay for the lung transplant, stating he failed to satisfy specific medical or coverage criteria, leaving him completely helpless in the healthcare system. In response to this refusal, friends, family, and followers launched a crowdfunding campaign appealing to the community to save his life. The response was overwhelming, raising over $2 million and far surpassing the initial goal. Thanks to this wave of solidarity, he was finally able to receive the double lung transplant he needed to stay alive. But he had to wait to meet the waiting list requirements and for a compatible donor to appear, which happened relatively easily. If he hadn't met these requirements to be a priority, it would have taken much longer. Receiving life support, and with the possibility that the infection could spread to other vital organs. The surgery was lengthy and involved removing both of his damaged lungs and replacing them with healthy ones. For now, Ben must regain his muscle strength, especially after losing 50 pounds, about 23 kilos, in 45 days. It's absolutely insane and shows the devastation his body went through. Also, apparently, he has lost his memory. He himself has said that he doesn't remember anything from the end of May to the beginning of July 2025.
I read my wife's journal because I don't remember anything from May 28 to July 2.
And this, according to the sources, is quite common in intensive care unit patients with sedation and such major trauma. Luckily, Askren got himself a good one. His wife Amy has been essential, recounting the events through her diary, and naturally handling everything in his absence. But it's time to face reality. What lies ahead for Askren isn't easy. He has a really tough recovery ahead of him. He has to learn to breathe with his new lungs. He has to do physical therapy to regain mobility and relieve the muscle atrophy from all this time in bed. As mentioned earlier, he needs to regain the weight he lost, as he's down to around 66 kilos, similar to his teenage weight, and recover mentally. I'm not a mental health expert, far from it, but I think many of you will agree with me that waking up on a stretcher with 2 new lungs after being unconscious and not knowing what the hell happened can affect you mentally, and it's a lot to take in. In addition to the stress and anxiety of ensuring everything functions properly, you clearly have a family you want to protect and provide for. From now on, as his recovery progresses, he will need to take immunosuppressants for life to stop transplant rejection, which can ironically make him prone to other infections. Of course, and in case there was any doubt, he will never be able to set foot in any cage or ring to fight again. And this is because even though a patient is expected to return to their life as normally as possible, after this you must be cautious and avoid fighting, among other things. So this is a farewell and the end for Ben Askren, the fighter who was undefeated for a long time and was considered one of the best fighters outside the UFC. The terrible story of what Ben Askren has had to go through is a reminder that at any moment, life can kick us in the balls. Of how fragile health can be, and at the same time, the incredible ability of the human body to fight and what medicine can do. Take care everyone, stay clean, until next time.